Okay, you are unmuted and
Thank you.
you're welcome. Let me know if you need anything. This is so
We'll
funny.
do that.
You guys are.
I know. They like doing this because then I have to do this to talk to them.
But you always go there.
And this is why we're a ponytail today, so I could be like.
I didn't know which way the camera was gonna be today. So
Yeah,
I didn't wanna be like,
these are off camera.
You're good.
And I like to be able to see it.
I didn't even think of.
Well, we have a bunch to cover today. This is follow up with leads. So, in fact, they call it here, session 11, convert possible business to probable business. So that's exciting, right? So you probably have seen the terms possible and probable if you have spent much time in your commands. So when you go into command, when you start to look at your opportunities applet, you're going to see along the bottom of each one of your opportunities you've created in your pipeline, you're going to see possible and probable. Okay. And so if you've ever wondered what the difference was between possible and probable, we're going to talk about that today. Okay. You guys know who I am. Anyone out there in Zoom land may not. So hi, my name is Beth. I am the productivity coach here. I have been in real estate for 11 years this month. It's so crazy. I feel really old now all of a sudden. And I always say the number one thing in my coaching program is that I believe coaching is an exchange of energy. So I'm going to give you guys 100% today, give me 100% back, and we will have a great time. All right. You start giving me low energy, I get low energy, and this gets weird. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So yesterday you probably discussed lead follow-up. Is that correct? FO? Yeah. Well, and today we're going to talk about what happens next after that. All right. So after a lead generation, lead conversion is the most business critical activity that you need to master. So I think that they're all business critical activities, but they're telling me that this one is the most business critical, and I can see why they think that. Okay. So we're going to talk about all of that different stuff. But first and foremost, let's talk about your success systems and any of the homework that you had from last night from Bob. So, what went well with your success system? Remember, we're talking about progress, not perfection here. Okay. So, any wins?
Got a reframe and like a surge of how to rethink what I was doing.
Okay.
To get me going. So I'm trying to get that on day 2. By tomorrow, I'm trying to be ready to be more successful in.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. What is the challenge that you're encountering that is causing the block? The mental block? You don't think it's a challenge?
Trying to get things in order.
Okay, fair enough. So maybe it's a time blocking challenge. Fair enough. Okay. I will tell you, time blocking will be the number one fight you have with yourself in your business the entire time you are in business. I spend more time in my business fighting to stay in my 20% than anything else. In fact, I was just having this conversation with my coach, and she asked me, she said, you know, if you were to look back on last year, because now we've had kind of a month to really look back at 2025. She's like, what is the number one challenge you faced in 2025? And I said, it was, for me anyway, staying in my 20% and not working outside of my job description. And she laughed at me and she said, girl, that's everyone. Okay. You're gonna find that staying within the 5 descriptors of what a real estate agent does will always be the hardest thing you have to do. and focusing on just those 5 things. And those 5 things are lead generation, lead follow-up, script and role play, writing and negotiating contracts. Guys, writing and negotiating contracts is a big piece of that, and we don't put enough focus on that. All right. And honestly, it's that follow-up piece of it is the biggest piece. And we're talking about that today, which is good. But I want you guys to remember that is where you need to be spending your time. And so if you find yourself sitting around and doing things like designing meeting note pages so that you feel this is not productive. I designed this to streamline a process for myself, right? So once again, that's the difference of working in your business or working on your business. I was like, this is working on my business. This is going to help me streamline my business and keep myself organized. And about halfway through it, as I was fighting with Canva to like make each little thing perfectly lined up, and I'm wasting all this time doing it, I went, oh no, I'm just wasting time. I am just wasting time. I'm being that girl, doing that thing I tell people not to do. So I could have just used a template in Canva and called it a day and still gotten to the same process, right? So I say that to say, you'll always fight it. It's about being aware when you're in that headspace. And as soon as you start to become really aware of it, it's easier to fight. Okay? So I hope you were able to meet with accountability partners if you have them. And here's the thing, if you don't have an accountability partner currently in your business, make sure you get one. Kids make great accountability partners, for the record, if you have children. Okay? If you ever don't want to do something, tie a reward for your child to the activity. I did this once. I told my son that if I reached my production goals, that we were going to go on a Disney cruise. Henry was probably 2, 3. I mean, he was little. He was a little guy at the time. And this kid every day would pack his stuffies into a little red wagon and walk to the front door, and I'd go, buddy, where are you going? And he'd go, I'm going to the Mickey boat. I'm going to the Mickey boat. And I'm like, oh man, mom has to make the goal so we can go to the Mickey boat. How can I tell him no? Or if I was sitting on the couch and my phone would ring and I would send the person to voicemail, immediately Henry would go, Mama, get the call, Mickey boat, Mickey boat. And I'm like, oh, Mickey boat. Okay, I'll answer the phone. All right, so kids make great accountability partners. Your best friends also make great accountability partners. A lot of times we think in business that it has to be a peer, like in colleagues, to be an accountability partner. Your best friend who knows nothing about what you do, by the way, as adults, I've learned very quickly that we don't know what each other does for a living. Okay. But your best friends will make great accountability partners for you as well, because they actually care more about your success than you do. I have a friend, her name is Erica, and Erica is the first person to tell me if I'm being lazy. She will call me and be like, girl, get on your butt and do the thing. Shut up. Quit making excuses. We all need those people in our lives. Okay? You don't have one, find one. That's my advice for you today. So by the end of the day, you are going to be equipped to apply lead conversion models. You are going to develop your system for capturing, cultivating, converting, and closing leads, and all of that information should sound familiar because you've seen capturing, cultivating, converting, and closing leads in places like the Millionaire Real Estate Agent as well as in Command. So all of that should look familiar. We're going to apply some proven methods to increase your conversion over time. And we're going to start thinking about what you learned today in a different way. So I'd like to start today by asking you, what do you want to learn today? What do you want to learn?
I need to find a creative way to capture more information from my leads.
A creative way to capture info. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So as you know, I draw up their name, I think their address, but I need more information.
Okay. So you're talking face to face.
Yep.
Face to face. All right. And a lot of times, face to face is the hardest way to capture information. So this is good.
The QR code.
Yeah, you're doing
So I'm
QR
trying
code.
to make that more appealing to them.
Okay, so we're looking for maybe scripting around it?
Yes, scripting around
Okay.
my giveaway to make them want to do it.
Cool. All right, good stuff. What are you looking to learn today?
Well, since I'm kind of new, all this is gonna be kind of new to me, so.
Right.
I'm ready to just kind of.
Just ready to dive in?
Yeah.
All right. So hopefully the information will automatically answer that question for you. If it doesn't, though, we'll come back to this at the end and make sure you get an answer to your question. Okay. So lead conversion is an essential part of the lead follow-up process. Often people assume that lead generation and lead conversion are the same, and that is not the case. Okay, there is a difference between lead generation and lead conversion. Lead generation is when you turn activities that you're doing into leads. That is lead generation. Lead conversion happens after the lead has been captured. Okay, and that's when we're turning the lead into business. Does that make sense? Perfect. The effort you give to converting leads must match the effort you give to generating them. This is from the book Shift. This is one of Gary Keller's many books, but in this book, he talks about when markets change, a lot of times what people do is they double down on their lead generation efforts, because as the market shifts, they get scared. And so they start doing the lead generation portion of it, but they don't move people through their pipeline. Okay. They're not putting as much effort into converting the lead to actual business as they are as to getting people in the top of the funnel of that lead generation funnel. The problem with that is, though, when all you're doing is generating leads and you're not converting it into business, you lose the lead. Okay? Because you talk to them about doing business and then you didn't convert it into business. Right? Why do you guys also think that lead generation and lead conversion deserve the same amount of effort?
I would always think conversion deserves more effort. Because it seems like it would be harder to do than just.
Yeah.
That's what makes you better.
Yeah. We work so hard on the script and role play portion of our job description, right, in lead generation. And think about it, when we're looking at scripting, a lot of it's lead generation. How much of it is actual lead conversion? It's not a lot, right? We're so worried about getting business into our business that we forget about how to actually make it real business. Okay. So let's look at that funnel. All right. So we're looking at converting a lead to an appointment. So it can happen slowly. So we have to be patient in that process. And Shift tells us that consistently getting every possible appointment from the leads you generate isn't complicated, but it does require preparation, practice, and purposeful action. Right? Goes back to knowing exactly what to say. So you guys will see me sometimes get frustrated with agents when they go, I don't like script practice. I just want to be able to talk organically and work with people in my business. Here's the thing, it doesn't work. We have to be prepared and we have to know what to say. Because if all we do is generate the lead and it sits there and we can't convert it, the money doesn't follow, right? And frankly, everything you've done up to that point was a giant waste of your time. Right? But in order to be able to convert it, you do have to have collected the correct information, right? So you're able to contact the person and build the connection. Right? If you're not able to build the connection, what's that? Right? And you have to be able to close for the appointment. So if you've done lead generation with me, you know I've said to you 100 times, the purpose of lead generation is to ask for the appointment. So I've said to you, the purpose of lead generation is lead conversion, right? This is why when we were choosing which classes to teach, I said I wanted to teach this class. Okay, I am passionate about this. Because without the appointment, the conversion has not happened. Right? Now, lead conversion where the possible business that comes from lead generating activities can turn into probable business and then ultimately profitable business. Okay. So all of those words sound fun, but what does that actually mean, right? So converting appointments to business is the key to economic success. It tells me here to tell you that you'll learn more about the appointment, the converting the appointment to business starting on day 14 of Ignite. But if you truly have not learned about converting it and you've been this far in on day 11, where you been? Okay. Until we get to that day 14, though, we are really going to focus on the how piece of this, not necessarily the why piece of this. All right, so we got any aha so far? Did I tell you anything you didn't already know? If the answer is no, that means I'm really good at my job, and I guarantee you I'm not that good.
I guess, me, I think I'm more surprised that people will spend more time on lead generating and then not converting or trying to really work on great leads. Cause I thought the same thing, I'm like, that would be a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think what happens in our businesses is we're taught that without the lead generation, we're taught that without lead generation, we have no business. Right? We've all heard that before. But the fact of the matter is I can generate all the leads in the world, but if I don't make them into business, it doesn't matter. Right? And I've seen people do this before and turn lead generation from a profitable activity, a money-making activity, into busy work. I've watched agents do that, where in fact, I was just having a conversation with an agent yesterday about this. She does open houses all the time. And I said, cool, talk to me about your follow-up system. What does that look like? And she said, well, I usually listen to the words. I usually follow up with them within a week or so. I send them a card in the mail if they've given me information. Like, there's so many problems with everything that was just said. There's no concrete, measurable system in place. Just like with goal setting, when we talk about setting SMART goals, right? We say they've got to be strategic, they've got to be measurable, they've got to be attainable, realistic, time-bound. Systems as well. They've got to be strategic, they've got to be measurable. It's gotta make sense that you're doing it, right? You've gotta have the ability and the know-how to do it. And there's gotta be a time frame set around it. Or it ain't a system, friends. It's a wish or a hope. Okay? And we don't build profitable businesses on wishes and hopes. I wish we did, but that's just not how that works. Okay? All right, so in this section, we will get into the specific steps of lead conversion, and this model will provide the structure for success and lay groundwork for future accomplishments. So, capturing leads. This is the first step, right? This is the important part. Capturing contact information. So this should include their names, of course, a way of getting a hold of them, such as an email or a phone number. And it should happen when you're lead generating, but it doesn't happen all the time when you're lead generating, right? You can lead generate and not capture that information. If you're door knocking, you're not necessarily capturing emails and phone numbers, right? So, what are some methods for capturing that information that are outside what we normally do? What are ways that we're capturing it? We may not even realize that we're capturing it.
Social media, you can find birthdays and addresses, or email addresses on social media sometimes.
Guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, it is absolutely wild the information people will put on the internet.
And their contact info when you ring their phone, it's
Wild.
it is.
I never even thought about getting people's emails.
I found some emails
Go
on
to LinkedIn.
Facebook
Find them on LinkedIn.
and LinkedIn.
I
Thank
never
you.
even thought about it.
I didn't either until I found one. I looked up the contact and there was their email on Facebook and I said, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So many people will even put their home addresses on Facebook. First of all, can I talk about how unsafe that is? Please don't do that. And yet, thanks, right? It's just data harvesting. I remember when I first started in real estate 11 years ago, and I told people in my class, my Ignite class, that's how I was building my database. As I said, I went through my Facebook and I'm just getting everybody's phone numbers out of there, getting everybody's email addresses out of there. Some people have put their home addresses in there, and that's how I'm building my database. Everyone in that room called me a creeper. Okay. Everyone in that room was like, that's stalking, that's stealing people's information. And now we're all like, what idiots? Can't believe people do that. But 11 years ago, the environment was different, right? It was only, even though they put it out there for the world to see, people saw that as an invasion of privacy. And now you expect someone's going to steal it if you put it out there. Right? I look at it as if I'm friends with you and you've put it on there, you want me to have that information. Right? So I want you to think the same way. Is even if you can't necessarily always capture easily their phone number or email address, can you capture them as a friend on social media and find out their information? Maybe. Online ads are also a really great way to capture people's information. So, for instance, through Command, we can create online ads, paid ads, and those ads can be linked to a landing page where people have to put in information. We have a system set up exactly for that, and it'll go boop, all over into your command. You'll capture that information. Another way to capture people's information is that QR code in the mail, like some mailers, flyers, that kind of stuff. People will scan QR codes that come in the mail so fast. I watched my husband do it the other day. It's hilarious. So I was saying to him that we've been having these conversations about capturing people's information. I said, and I remember the first time I used a QR code, and this was pre-COVID. Okay. Remember, COVID is when like QR codes became like the thing, right? So pre-COVID, I was using a QR code on my for sale signs. And I actually had a seller call me and go, people keep coming up to your sign and taking a picture of it. Should I stop them from doing that? I was like, well, first of all, if they're taking a picture of the sign, they're taking a picture of my phone number, so I'm not concerned about that. But I think what they're doing is they're scanning it, because when they scan the QR code, it's going to information about your home. My seller was immediately freaked out. Absolutely immediately freaked out. Like, what do you mean it's going to information about my home? And I showed them a splash page that I had created with information, basic information about their home. It was just square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, size of the lot. It didn't even have the price of the house on it. Because I don't want them to have the price of the house. I want them to call me. Right? So we can talk. And he's like, I don't know if I feel comfortable with this. This has pictures of the inside of my house on it. I said, so does the internet. Pictures of the inside of your house. So is it weirding you out that they can see that while they're standing in your front yard? Like getting it from the QR code? He said, maybe that's why that feels weird. And I said, because if they were on Zillow, they could do the same thing. But I had to talk him through this, right? But he was very concerned about this whole setup. Now, QR codes are such an embedded part of our lives that literally we got a thing in the mail, and I couldn't tell you what it was from. It was a postcard, and it looked like it was written on it. I think it was a Windows like type of thing, like somebody's trying to sell windows in our neighborhood. And I couldn't tell you what it was because the mail came. My husband went and got the mail, brought it in, immediately grabbed the postcard, just flipped it over and scanned the thing. I was like, what the hell are you doing? I can't let you do that. And he's like, why? And I go, that is just a grab for your information. That's what that is. And he said, yeah, but it doesn't hurt anything. And then you're going to start getting emails about Windows. Do you want emails about Windows? He goes, no, that's not why they're doing it. I'm like, honey, if I taught you nothing, we've been married for 15 years. Taught you nothing about this, okay? But yeah, guys, it's an information grab. And the average American is exactly like my husband. People haven't caught on to the fact that that's how we're collecting info. And that's how we're data harvesting. So what they don't know is our benefit. So let's use it while it still works, because I guarantee you in about 3 years it won't. Okay? This is also why we have to stay up to date on this information. And it always, I think it's really interesting also when agents say to me, I don't need to go to those classes. I've been in this business for 100 years. I know what I'm doing. Everything's changed. Everything changes. Okay. So it is important to know what you are going to say before you start looking towards converting that lead that has come in through your lead generation efforts. You have to know what to say. And you have to have a system in place. You've got to be able to capture your leads. And once you've captured them, then you have to find a way to cultivate the lead. So how do we cultivate? Well, honestly, it's usually with touch campaigns, right? And it's creating a system around the cultivation. All right. We are lucky because we have those built into smart plans. Not every realtor has those. But we have to use the smart plans. A lot of times people think that smart plans are just emails that get sent out. But if you start looking at our smart plans and using them at a higher level, you're going to notice really quickly that there is everything from, you can find smart plans that have pop buys in them. You can find smart plans that have door knocking in them. That'll say, okay, no, on this day, go knock on that person's door. Okay. And with all of that being said, we also have to be aware that not every lead is ready for conversion. Not every lead is ready for an appointment. So we have to be willing to sit in that cultivation phase with that touch campaign happening. So if we don't have a system around it, and it takes longer than we're comfortable with, this is how people fall off our radar, right? You've got to stay in close emotional proximity so that when they're ready, they think of you. And Renee, you do a great job at this, right? In terms of your door knocking, you're staying in close emotional proximity with these folks, so they can't help but think of you. Because they might not immediately, but 2 days later, you're going to knock on their front door, right? So I want you to take a minute and look at the activity in your participating guide. There's 4 boxes at the bottom of the page there. Okay. So I want you to think, how are you currently capturing leads? Write that in there. By the way, we're on page, I think 11.4, if I'm not mistaken. How are you currently capturing leads? What information are you actually collecting right now? What are your current lead categories, tags, so you are able to sort and even begin to create a system? And then, what can you do to improve that lead capture? Okay, take a couple of minutes and hash that out. Okay, what do you think? How are you currently capturing leads? How are we currently capturing leads?
I'm not,
Not? We're not capturing leads?
I mean, other than, you know, if I have a client, I'll capture their lead, send the transaction.
So short of them calling you, you're not capturing leads. Okay. How about you, Julie? How are you capturing leads?
Right now, just, open houses, I have a bunch of leads from various sources I still have to catch up with.
Yeah,
So that, you know,
creating those systems around it, right? Those touch campaigns.
I'm wanting to put. Follow, pick up. Stop marketing.
Yeah.
Over marketing, so when I put it, make an appointment. Icon on my website.
Oh, yeah, like a Calendly, like a appointment. Yes. Okay, great. That's good
Cause
stuff.
I have Julie Hacker Homes as a domain.
And you can just
It's been out
like
there for-
random strangers then book appointments on your calendar. You feel really good about that?
Yeah, for a short window or.
She's like, maybe.
It would be like from 1 to 3 or 5 to 7, I wouldn't be like all day.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be just messing up my whole day.
I feel like I would only want to share that with people I've already vetted.
Okay.
I don't know that I'd want to share that with the whole world.
I guess I've gone out on different lists and go to my own appointment to have a conversation,
Yeah,
so. I'm not sure.
I would book a phone call.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Not
Please-
appointments.
please don't make nose to nose, toes to toes with strangers. That's how real estate agents disappear. She is so good on the phone. No, I've heard her on the phone. She's great. She's good on the phone. She's very good. All right. So let's move on to the second step. The second step is to connect. And that's really laying the foundation for that good working relationship. Okay. The most important part of connecting, though, isn't about what you say to them. Believe it or not, it's what you hear from them. Right? So it's listening. It's asking good questions. And when you ask good questions, you open the door to be given the opportunity to offer solutions. The hardest part is going to be to keep the focus of the conversation on them. So many times we think we have to sell them on us, that all we do is talk about us, right? Like, well, you should work with me because I'm the best agent here. I'm the best agent in Central Kentucky. And because I'm the best agent in Central Kentucky, this is all the things that I can do for you. But you don't know if everything you can do for them is the right fit because you don't know what their problems are. You've never asked, right? The goal of the communication is building the relationship. And that is really truly the only way you're going to be able to determine their urgency. Once you've determined urgency, now you can then prioritize your leads. And we've talked about this before in tagging your leads, right? So we can prioritize that. Is this a hot lead? Is this a 0 to 3 months? They're ready to transact? Or are we talking about a warm lead, a 3 to 6 months? Or are we talking about one of those nurture leads that's looking like it's 6 months or more? And now I've got to find a different way to stay in front of these people. Right? Because it's more long term. But essentially, it all comes down to each one's going to have its own kind of follow-up plan. It's going to have its own system built around it. So as you're communicating and connecting, I want you to keep some best practices in mind. Right? Make sure that when you're communicating, you are embedding your value proposition. And we talked about value propositions. Have the confidence through knowing what you're going to say. Okay? If you want to communicate and connect, the only way you're going to really connect with someone is if you feel really confident in the stuff you're talking about. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be an expert in everything. And it does mean you need to know what to say. Okay? So I want you to do what they call using a backward design when thinking about your communication. So what I mean by that is think about what you would intend the outcome to be before you ever start the conversation. So, for instance, before you pick up the phone, know that you intend the outcome to be that they are going to have an appointment with you. Right? And now you can use questions to help lead them toward that intended outcome. Right? So many times when we're lead generating or even attempting to lead convert, we find ourselves in a position where we are just picking up the phone and dialing. Or we're just going into a room with people. And when we're doing that, we're not truly connecting. And we're not having the intended outcomes because we didn't think about what we wanted to have happen before we ever did it. Okay. So this was a revelation that I had at one point. I went on a listing appointment. And I didn't get the listing, for the record. This is why I'm laughing. I was like, this was a woman, it was an elderly woman. But like I liked her. She's like tough as nails. Like I liked her a lot. And she did not care what I had to say. In any way, shape, or form. And this is a stupid thing. It was like, I don't even know that she heard me because she was like, you can go now. Which is fine. And I left and immediately called my coach and like in tears in the car because this little old baby made me cry. And I'm feeling like a complete idiot. And he said to me, okay, well, what did you intend to have happen? And I said, well, I intended to get to know her. And he goes, that's not what she thought you intended. She thought you intended to list her house. You intended to get to know her. So she saw what you were doing as a waste of time. You didn't have the same intention for the appointment. Then I went, oh, so I could have just asked her for the business? And he said, did you? I was like, well, no, I didn't think I could. He's like, yeah, you never intended to get that listing. Don't cry to me you didn't get that listing. You never intended to get the listing. I thought you were going on a listing appointment, not a rapport appointment. Know what you intend to do. And then I went on the phone and I cried more. And I called my husband. I was like, I feel real stupid. And he's like, would you like ice cream? I'm like, yeah. And that's how that went.
So, a quick question, you have to build some sort of rapport to gain their trust.
Yeah.
So I guess. there's
But
gotta be-
rapport building
Should
should
be
be the intention of the appointment. Right? So if she has, if I don't know this woman at all, but she has called me for a listing appointment, yeah, there's gonna be some rapport building parts of the appointment, but it shouldn't be the intention of the appointment. She was intending me to come there and list the house. Or at least picture on listing the house. But when I'm sitting there and just wanting to chit chat in her living room, she was over me real fast. She was, and like I said, she was this little old lady, and I'm not kidding you, like purple hair, amazing nails. I remember her nails were like super like pointy, like claws, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Like she had like a whole vibe. Her house had a whole vibe. She was very cool. But she was having none of me. Like absolutely zero. Yeah. But you live and you learn, right? And the only thing I could do was put my tail between my legs and find a way to then remind myself of what my intentions were in the future. Okay. So I'm just so you guys know, I'm like the queen of sticky notes. I still am. It's an area of opportunity for me. So my appointment, I have an appointment folder, or I had an appointment folder that I kept in my car that had a lot of information in it that I would look at before I went into an appointment. So before I went into a listing appointment, I would open this up. It had everything from scripts in it to reminders of things I was supposed to do or say, and so I could get myself in the right headspace before I jumped out of the car. Okay. Now I had a new sticky note that then said, what do you intend to do today? So I could remind myself and ask myself that question, what do I intend to do today? I intend to get this listing. Okay, I'm in the right headspace to hit it. Okay. But connecting is more than just small talk, right? Your communication should seek to answer some basic questions, right? Who are they? What do they want or need to do? Where do they want or need to do it? Why do they want or need to do it? When do they want or need to do it? And how do they plan to do it? So in your participant guide, you have some examples of those 6 questions. That's on page 11.6, I believe. You need to practice having these conversations and asking really great questions. Okay. In the same way that with you guys meet with me on one-on-ones, you're going to notice a lot of what I have to say is just asking you questions. Okay. You'll come to your own conclusions in a lot of cases. I just have to know the right questions to ask you. That is coaching. Coaching is asking really good questions, and by doing so, reframing the way you think. Okay?
Essentially, we're coaching our clients.
You're coaching your clients. That's exactly right. You now become the coach. Yes.
Interesting perspective. Thank you, Beth.
So I want you to take some time to plan out a framework for conversations that do work for your business. Okay? My script I could hand you may not work for you, because I'm a different person than you. Okay? But you need to put some thought into what that framework is for you and how it will work for you and your customer. And for each customer, that framework may look different. Those questions may look different. For instance, I may know that Tara does not respond well if I'm super aggressive to her in a conversation, right? Yet I know that if I'm not super aggressive with Tammy, she's going to think I'm a pushover. Right? So each time before you go into an appointment, right, we're reframing those questions. Same questions, reframed. Right? You want to practice these conversations to help them feel more natural. Right? To make it feel like you're not just reading a list of questions off a piece of paper or off the top, like you're scrolling through the piece of paper in your head. And I can tell when people do that, and everyone else can too. If you're picturing the paper in your head that's got the questions on it, you're like, so where do you want to do that? When do you want to do that? You're reading the paper in your brain, we can see it in your eyes. Okay. And a really good way for you to do that is we've talked about the Ford method, right? A lot of this information comes out when you ask those questions, by the way, the Ford method questions. And you can use those questions to deepen these questions. Okay? So if our connection questions are, who are they? So an example is, Tammy, tell me more about yourself. Okay, notice it's open-ended, it's not a yes or no. Tell me more about yourself. Oh, I've been a real estate agent for a really long time. I like doing this, that, and the other thing. And I go, great. Do you have a family?
Yes.
Perfect. Great. So tell me about your family. Let's roll with this. Tell me about your family.
I'm sure, got 2 children, lost one, 9 grandchildren, we stay very busy.
Okay.
Need a lot of space for kids to play outdoors, yeah.
Great. So she has told me about 3 levels of her family. She's told me about her life. She's told me about loss. She's told me about how she handles all of those things. If I don't capture that, that's a me problem, not a Tammy problem. Right? So same for all of us when we're having our conversations with our customers. All I did was ask the first question and the first part of the Ford model. And I got all that information on her. And she's not usually super forthcoming with information. So the fact that I could dig that out with 2 questions is pretty incredible, right? You can do the same thing with your customers. But you have to feel comfortable and confident in knowing what to say.
Beth, I was listening to a sermon the other day and they were talking about Dr. Charles Stanley, a minister, but how he would actually make contact, never leave the eyes. How he always was listening here.
Mhm.
And that's something in the busy world we don't tend to do. So to help to capture.
Or if you do need to take notes, let them know that that's what you're doing.
Absolutely, and the looking in the eye, the really hearing and care.
Yeah.
Showing you care.
Yeah.
That just resonated with me. So many people were in a hurry to hear partially.
Yeah.
I think you have the next thing to say is the.
That's one of the things that he actually stated. So many of us are thinking about how we're gonna respond and what we're gonna say to them and how we're gonna come after them. You know, always posing us instead of really hearing the person and really showing them that we care.
Yeah.
And if you show someone that you care, what a feeling it is. That's
Yeah.
what he does.
And we know, right? We talked about this before, that emotion equals motion.
Ooh.
So if you get someone to feel an emotion, like feeling heard, feeling seen, they're much more likely to work with you and do the thing you ask them to do. sign the contract today doesn't feel like a command when they have felt heard and seen. It feels like a partnership at that point. Right? So in your participant guide, you can find a list of questions and they're categorized by buyers and sellers. I believe that's page 11.7 if I'm not mistaken. And you can use that and then customize a lot of those as well. All right, but these are really great questions to give you jump off points. And once again, if you're creating that, what do I say, folder for your car to look over before you jump out of the vehicle. And I recommend you do that. It's good to reframe your mind. Also, when you know that you have to look at that before you get out of the car, you don't show up exactly on time, you always show up early. Right? I sometimes I would even show up and park a block away, go over all the things in my appointment and then drive up. All right. But once you've made them feel heard and seen, and you've asked their permission, if you can take notes, by the way, you should do that. As we're talking along today, is it okay with you if I take some notes? Now, if you're not looking and making eye contact with them the entire time, they know what you're doing. And it's an act of care. It doesn't mean that you're distracted. Right? Asking permission. Now we can document the conversation. Okay. And now we have extensive notes that we can put in our database. I can take those 2 questions I asked Tammy and write down some bullet points about that stuff. And she's not weirded out that I've written that down. Right? Keeping a strong and well documented I'm sorry, if I could talk, that'd be great. Keeping a strong and well documented record of communication will help you know how to move, is what it says. And I think that that's a really interesting choice of phrase. Help you know how to move. Because it's true. If you keep well documented records and you look those over before you go and meet with somebody the next time, you can once again set that intention in the right way for that appointment. Right? You know how to come from contribution as well in the future. And it helps to know how to prioritize that lead. Because if I had had that conversation with Tammy and I said, tell me about your family, she said, well, my husband and I own this home, but he just died. And we're going through probate. And this lead is prioritized very differently than if she's just going to sell her house. Right? Probate can take months and in some cases years. It depends on the situation.
But usually they can't stop you from selling the property, they're allowed to do that. Depends.
I've seen some weird stuff.
I have, but I've also been sold really quick.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true. So your goal is to capture, to connect, and to close. And you're going to find that there will be a small percentage that won't be ready to convert. And that's once again where those touch campaigns come in. Okay. And you're going to learn more about touch campaigns, but we've talked about them before in the other class where I talked about that 19 to connect, the 1 to cement, and the 36. You learned about that yesterday? Yep. Okay. Well, the last class I taught, we talked about it a little bit, right? So this shouldn't be new information to you, but this is where you will leverage those. Okay. So as you start to implement, you can always pursue creating your own touch campaigns. And I'm going to challenge you to say if there have already been touch campaigns that have been created and are in your smart plans. If you find yourself creating a new smart plan, I'm gonna ask you the tough question and hold both your hands while I'm doing it. Is this actually productive work or is this a distraction? Okay. The plans are there. They're built. You have to be willing to put your ego aside and implement. Just implement something that we know works. And be willing to trust us that it works. Okay. Once again, are you spending your day realigning boxes on a meeting note, or could you have used a template? I could have used a template. This was a waste of my time. Am I glad I have it now? Sure. Would I have been just as glad with the one that was already in the system? Probably. Okay, it is still a struggle to stay in that 20%. So it's always going to be recommended that you start with the ones that are already in your smart plans, the 3 that have been introduced to you, and you use those first. Beyond that, you're welcome to start creating your own. A good thought process behind that as well is once we have perfected what's already there, that's how we earn the right to get creative. You want to get creative in your business? Knock what's there out of the park. And that's how you earn it. That's the currency to earning it. Okay? Now, if we look up here, it says you can't know or predict when they will come to a decision, but if you're reconnecting with them in a systematic way, you'll have a great chance of being there when they do. That's when you'll be able to close for an appointment. Okay? Once again, that's in the book Shift. So if you haven't read Shift, I think you should do so, because I don't know if you've looked around in our market, but our market's shifting again. And you guys see a lot of market shifts on a smaller scale in this area, just simply because of the seasons. Yeah.
Or is it the market? See, I'm actually joining the association today.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get access to the MLS. Is that where you kind of get that information?
That's where you're gonna get that information. You're gonna be able to see it all. And when you log into your Flex MLS, the thing that you should be checking every day is you should be looking at what's called the hot sheet. The hot sheet. The hot sheet is gonna tell you what's new to the market. And it's gonna give you an idea of inventory that exists out there. Okay, and that's how we stay on top of what's happening. Okay. So cultivate is the next step in the model. And why do you guys think that agents struggle with cultivation? Why do you think people struggle with cultivating leads?
Maybe they don't want to have competition.
Yeah. Why do you think people struggle with cultivation?
It's like, I guess where they're not ready yet, so it's not like an immediate.
Yeah, we're instant gratification people.
Yeah.
So we get somebody that's a lead that comes into our pipeline, and we want them to do business right now. And when they don't want to, we're like, fine, I'll move on. And I'll go to this person that wants to do business right now. Sometimes we even like get into a headspace where like we get mad at customers who aren't ready right now. Right? And in the same way that emotions equal motion with our customers, the same thing happens with us. When we get in that headspace where we're like literally mad at them because they're not ready to do business yet, the motion that we set in place is actively avoiding them. I have watched agents who spent time and money to lead generate, lead comes into pipeline, lead's not ready to convert, and then they're like, oh, what a waste. And then they actively avoid the people who then try to reach out to them because they're not ready yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all do it. Right? But that's how we allow our emotions to affect and impact our businesses. Right? And remember, it's not personal, it's not, we've got to set the emotion part aside. And if we have a system set up and all we do is we are the robots that follow the system, that'll never happen. Right? So agents often struggle during cultivation because they don't have the right systems in place to continue to follow up with that lead. They'll follow up with them for 2 or 3 weeks and then the people aren't ready and they're like, fine, forget it. I hate you. You're so mean. You don't want to work with me. No, I mean, I do it myself. I've done it.
So tall.
I mean, when someone says they're not ready, find out why.
Yeah.
And maybe their understanding of being ready isn't accurate, they actually will be ready soon.
Yeah.
I'm just the opposite, because I'm afraid they're gonna wanna buy or sell, and I'm like, no.
You're like, I'm not ready.
You're not.
She's so good
Yes,
at
you guys are
not really.
Yeah.
She is so good at these generating, but we're working on the conversion.
You guys.
Because it's the confidence and the conversion, right?
Okay, no.
So yeah, essentially what happens is we allow the lead to slip because we get disappointed.
Okay.
And then we're gonna go and transact with an agent. And now we're big mad.
And ourselves, because we didn't follow up.
Well, no, we're big mad at them. And then we get like, we're like down bad. We're like, oh my god, I'm so horrible. And then we get our heads about it. And we can't move forward. That is, by the way, how business growth starts.
Well, and there's a lot in the MREA podcast, and go talk about it, like, you can't let those things take you down, because it's so common, you just have to like, okay, that's over, and keep going and not let it like roll around.
Yeah.
True, but good luck with that.
Yeah.
When I got last night, we're sending over a release and it's a double whammy and decent commission and they really want their new home. It's kind of like.
Yeah, it feels gross, right? And it's easy to get your head about it.
You do tend to, it's hard for it not to live rent free in your head. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Because you're frustrated, but it is wrong, and you do need to reflect back and think about what could I have done differently.
Yeah.
You do need to at least do that. But he's.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself, where's my DNA on this, right? For the accountability piece to yourself. But here's the kicker. Where's my DNA on this? Learn the lesson. Okay. And then if you have enough people at the top of your pipeline, that doesn't matter. You take the lesson with you and you go back to the top of the pipeline. Where this hurts you sit in it is if you don't have enough people at the top of the pipeline. Right? That's where the ouchie feeling happens. Right? So it goes back to the right activities.
That's what creates that.
Yeah, the real estate roller coaster. So for those of you that are new to real estate, you're going to hear people talk about the real estate roller coaster all the time. And that's the working in your business, on your business, crux of it all. Right? So what Tammy's talking about is when your business looks like this. Okay? So you start here, and that's where you start lead generating. Okay? So you generate, you go up here and cool, I am closing deals. I am making money. You make the money, and then you get so excited that you made the money. You're like, yay, money. And then all of a sudden you realize you have nothing else happening because all you were focused on was making that money. That's it. And now your emotions come into play here. And back here, this is where we start lead generating again. Is at the bottom. Okay? And now I lead generate, lead convert. I go all the way up here. And now I make more money. Yay! But here's the thing, hear me out. If we kept doing this the whole time, regardless of any of these pieces, if we just kept doing this, we kept doing these pieces, this would never happen. Right?
Yes. contractor's gonna continuously bid jobs, or they'll finish one and have nothing to the guys, they'll lose their employees. We
Right.
don't generate leads on a regular basis.
Well, and this goes back to mindset too, right? We, as realtors, we naturally like to feel important. We like to feel like we're helping people, right? And that's where we're doing that when we're lead converting and we're coming up here. We feel like we're helping people, right? Emotion equals motion. We will never work harder than we will right here going up that mountain. And we'll feel so good about the work because we feel like we're making a difference. Right? And then this happens, and we feel that's the pinnacle, we made money, right? Now you're like, cool, I can put my money into all these other gadgets and gizmos and weird shiny things that are really gonna help me with my business. So then we spend all the money. And we don't lead with profit. We spend all the money, and now we poor. Real poor. And now we're sad that we're poor. And we have no business.
You have the failed real estate agent peg.
I've seen them a few times. I've bet them a few times. I get it. Okay.
You had a peg,
So ultimately, though, the thing that fixes the real estate roller coaster is the constant lead generation and constant conversion. Both have to be happening at the same time. Okay, we can't just be lead generating and adding people to the top of the funnel. And we can't just be converting and not feeding the funnel. Right? We also have to, when we're having the conversations to convert, we have to be actually closing for the business, right? We have to be actually closing to get to the business. And that's where you ask for the appointment, by the way. How many of you guys have found yourself on the phone with a customer? You got off the phone and you went, oh damn, I never asked. I've done it. Once again, I didn't set the intention before I got on the phone. That's what it was, guys. We didn't set the intention before we got on the phone. I didn't come up with what is going to be the most effective way based on this personality to get a close to happen. And there's different types of closes, right? So you can ask for closes via text message, email, phone call, or in person. And yet, what do you think is the best way to close for an appointment? Or close for business? To get them to agree to do business with you. In person. I have said this until I'm blue in the face. Guys, we gotta get in front of people. And if we can't get in front of people, we at least have to talk to people. And yeah, that's the phone. It sucks, but you gotta use it. Because that's just the numbers, right? And numbers tell stories. The story here is if people can't hear you and hear your intention, hear your empathy, hear that you care, they're not going to work with you. They're not going to close for an appointment. You can send every text message in the world because it makes you feel comfy in your soul. And I don't care, it's not going to work. And if it does work, it certainly won't work at the same level. Okay? So you can work harder and send out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of text messages, literally throwing spaghetti against a wall, hoping something sticks. Or you could just pick up the darn phone. You could just set an appointment, knock on their front door. They have a hard time saying no if you're nose to nose with them, right? Least effective options are text message and emails, writing options. These are your least effective methods. You're not communicating in real time. and you can't immediately respond to any issues they may have, and they don't understand context. Context clues do not come through in writing. Period. Body language, tonality, none of that comes through. Phone calls in person are going to have the best effect on your lead conversion. And you are all gonna be like, but, is what it is. So when you are setting the appointment, what are the most important elements to schedule? Because you're not just asking for the appointment, right? More than that goes into play. You have to ask for the date, you have to ask for the time, and it has to be at the earliest convenience of all parties. I'm going to really challenge you all to stop booking appointments weeks out. Please don't do that. If a customer says to you, yeah, Tara, I'll meet with you, but I can't meet with you for 3 weeks. A rebuttal to that is, I'd like to meet with you at your earliest convenience. I'm available on Tuesday or Thursday from this time to this time. Can't meet with you for 3 weeks. Can't meet with you for 3 weeks. What is so important about 3 weeks from now? Can you tell me more about that? What is going to change between now and 3 weeks from now?
So long.
Ding. But now we're getting the information on this, right? We're understanding why that happens. Oh yeah, I'm meeting with 5 other agents between now and 3 weeks from now when I meet with you. Okay, great. If I can meet with you first, answer all of your questions, meet all of your needs, and even some of your wants, would you be willing to cancel those other appointments? Oh, I don't know, I've already booked them. How about this? If we meet and you agree to do business with me, I'll call and cancel them for you.
Where's those pros?
Have I done it? Yeah,
Maps.
Maps. Yeah, Maps coaching. So you pick up the phone and you say, hey, Joe Schmo from Bob and Tom Real Estate Bait and Tackle. You have an appointment with Mrs. Smith. You had an appointment with Mrs. Smith. No, just kidding, don't do that. Don't do that.
Do it.
You just simply say,
Start good.
I just wanted to let you know, I just met with Mrs. Smith. I got the listing with Mrs. Smith, and I'd love to work with you if you can bring a buyer to our deal. Okay? Now. Yeah.
So then, I got it.
Yeah. I'd love to work with you. Please bring a buyer. Okay? That's it. Okay. You also can't be going into the appointment, trying to book all of that stuff, just looking for the yes at the end of that shift, right? So we're asking for the date, the time, the location, we're booking all of those things. And this is also why you're always going to hear me say, send a calendar invite immediately to these people with all of that information. If you ever look at your workouts of the day always say things like send a calendar invite. Because that way they know that first of all, the appointment was important. Secondly, they know it's on your calendar. Thirdly, they have all of the information. And if you use a Google Calendar invite, they can click simply the address and it automatically goes into their Google Maps. Okay, you don't have to worry about directions on how to get where they need to go to meet with you. Okay, but that is a system around that, right? But I always say, I'm going to send you a calendar, and Julie, we're going to meet, I heard you when you said that you want to meet on Friday from 1 to 2 at the Panera Bread. Okay. I'm gonna send you this calendar invite. If something happens between now and Friday, please let me know. And she's gonna say to me, oh no, don't worry, I'll be there. If something comes up between now and Friday, please let me know. So that I can give that time slot to someone else. What has that done? It creates a sense of urgency. Oh my gosh, you guys are right. It creates a sense of urgency. Yeah, it's a sense of urgency, right? So now they think that you're in demand and you're going to give away their time slot if they don't show up. I'm going to start working with somebody else. Another tactic behind that, by the way, as part of lead generation, is I would challenge you to change the way you look for potential customers in creating a sense of urgency when you do that. Make an announcement. I'm now taking more buyers. I'm now accepting more buyers. Or I'm now accepting more listings. It made it sound like you were booked up, you were too busy, right? Before, but I'm gonna take you on now. It also creates that velvet rope effect, right? Of this is an exclusive club to be in. All right. Keep in mind safety, please. Do not meet people at houses. Do not meet people in private places without someone else with you. Okay?
You say don't meet them at houses, meaning.
Like someone calls you and says, "Hey Julie, I'll meet with you and talk about what I'm looking to do. Will you meet me at this house we want to view?" No. I'm gonna meet you in a public place first. Or I'm gonna meet you here at my office first. Don't just meet them there and stand in the drive. I know, I'm sure you have, I have too. But it doesn't set you up for safety. Because if this person has nefarious intentions, and now you are standing there by yourself, you've captured zero of their information, right? You've set yourself up for failure, and you've taught them how to treat you. You have taught this potential customer that no matter what you're doing, you drop what you're doing and just meet them immediately. Right? And when we teach a customer that that's what we're willing to do, they're going to think we're willing to do that every single time. And believe me, have I gotten the phone call? "Hey Beth, so this house just popped up on my Zillow. Can you come and show it to me in 20 minutes? No. No. And no is a complete sentence. Okay? All right. In the end, if they can meet and have a good enough reason to meet, they will meet. Okay? And if they don't, they won't. And that's okay. You really don't care what their answer is ultimately is, because you're not getting people to do anything they don't want to do. You're going to ask and respond until they agree that meeting with you makes sense or it doesn't. Either way, you both win. So you're still cultivating, right? No matter what. But ultimately it comes down to, are they ready to work with you? Are they ready to do business? Okay. So this comes from Shift, but it also speaks to one of our Y4C2Ts. Do you guys know what the Y4C2Ts are?
Basically, I don't have any more.
Basically,
But
yeah.
yeah,
You get the concept.
This year.
All right. So, which part of our belief system does this make you think of? Which part of our Y4C2T's belief system does this make you think of?
Win-win.
Win-win or no deal? It's got to be a win-win. Also, commitment in all things. I am committed to them. as my customer, I am committed to our communication. Right? Also, integrity. Do the right thing.
What are those initials mean?
It's Y4C2T, so it's WI, the number 4, the letter C, the number 2, the letter T, E, S.
Sorry.
The Y4C2Ts. I'll write it up here for you guys.
It's been
Oh, I already did it wrong myself. Hold on, I don't get this right. Enough time, no. That is part of the Keller Williams belief system.
And that stands for,
It stands for all.
okay,
On page 11.10, turn right.
Good.
thank you very much. Okay.
What she said, page 11.10.
Yeah,
Oh, that's different.
it is.
It's just one with, yep.
Wow. Just, hey, not that, I vote.
Yeah.
L, 101.
There, we went on it.
Press this on the right, and then the left.
Hey, look at that.
Well, oh, you're confirmed for the appointment. I vote. Okay. 11.9.
To be fair, there's a couple here in your guide, so, okay. So what are your ahas from this section? What are the ahas from this section?
We must learn how to, number one, speak to people, capture them, and convert them.
Right.
I mean, maybe it's, yeah.
And then you'll give the appointment to someone else, never up to you.
Yeah,
That would motivate you.
the first time that you have to do it though, you're really nervous taking the phone calls to the other agents, just so you know that. Like, there was a lady who literally was like, okay, call all these other people and tell them I won't talk to them. And I went, I actually have to do it. I did it. I did it though. Fine. So you learned the model steps and actions that it takes to convert a lead to an appointment, and we're gonna go and dig a little deeper into what a conversion rate is and how you can inform your business decisions. So if you guys learned nothing from me in coaching, it should be that you document absolutely everything you do. Absolutely every move you make in real estate should be documented. So keeping track of how many attempted contacts you make, how many actual contacts you make. What are your lead sources? Which ones are actually turning into business? If you're not documenting things, you don't have a business. Because a business is something that holds value, correct? A business can be sold, right? You can't sell what's just living in your head. Okay? You can only sell it if it's documented.
Right. Profit and loss statement and your books. Okay, so in command, that I assume is where we track the number of calls, we put our leads, upload our CRM, set up our touch campaign.
Yep. All of that stuff. You're gonna be able to see your possible and probable incomes. You're gonna be based on where you're at within the system. You're gonna be able to track your goals and how close you are to your goals. You're gonna be able to see all of those things within the different templates. So the percentage of leads that you ask for an appointment compared to those that actually agree to an appointment. You're gonna be able to see that. Okay?
And I assume Scott, Lloyd, Mark, and some of them is where we need to go to train and learn how to do those activities.
Some of it. Some of it's gonna be taught in this classroom. Some of it will be by you calling me crying at 10 p.m. that, did I get phone calls last night? Sure did. Sure did. Will I answer them every time? Okay. I mean, unless I'm sleeping. And I am an old baby and go to bed pretty early, so sorry about that. You're not asleep. I fell asleep at 11 o'clock watching Bravo last night. My husband was like, "You've got to stop." Right. So, for example, you could ask 10 leads for an appointment and succeed in setting 8 appointments. That means you have an 80% conversion rate, right? But if you haven't tracked that, you don't know how many appointments are actually converting. You're gonna go, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm converting all of them." You're gonna forget about those, the few that fell out maybe. Or all you'll do is focus on those that fell out, and that number begins to slide. But unless you know the number is sliding, you don't know to fix it. Right? So your goal is to increase your skills and convert at the highest percentage rate possible. And if you find that you're converting at a low percentage, the challenge is not the number of leads generated, but typically it's your ability to get them to an appointment. Really? Okay. So next, we're going to talk about ways that you can improve your conversion rates. These are all things you've heard me talk about before, so you're probably going to be real bored with all of this, so just bear with me, all right? So you remember on like day 1 of Ignite, Tara talked to you guys about moving from E to P, right? So from entrepreneurial to purposeful with your actions. Okay, in your 6 personal perspectives. And that's what this is. Okay, this is moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful in what you do. When you get more purposeful, you bring more close transactions, and frankly, these activities, they are just some of the activities you should be doing. Okay? So you're gonna obviously block for lead conversion. Now, is lead generation time the same as lead conversion time on your calendar? No, it's not. Because we learned today that lead conversion and lead generation are 2 different things, right? So if they're 2 different things, they should have 2 different time blocks on your calendar. Lead generation is for bringing in new business, filling in the top of that pipeline, the top of that funnel. Lead conversion time on your calendar, some people just mark it as follow-up time, right? Also known as follow-up time to a lot of people, is where we're now nurturing those people who already exist within our database. Now, can I lead generate from my database that already exists? Yes, but you have to be asking for referrals to be truly lead generated. Because if they're in your database, you've already brought the lead in, right?
No.
So if they're in your database, you've captured their information, am I right?
Yes,
You've brought the lead into your system.
but we've never had a conversation.
Okay. But they are no longer new to your system. They are no longer building your business. They're already in your business. So in order to grow your business, you have to contact them and ask for new business. Okay? Ask for referrals when you're calling. So if you're calling your database and lead generating, you should be asking for referrals. Okay. You should use conversations and systems. So once again, scripts and role play guys. Practice your conversations, your dialogues, asking for closings, mastering buyer and seller presentations. We talked in script practice a little bit about that listing presentation. We're going to finish up doing that in script practices as soon as Ignite is over. Okay. Yeah.
So when you were talking about those leading into the listing presentation, reminded me. So like when you were talking about not meeting people at that process, you're not doing the listing presentation when you initially meet them.
No,
That would be like the second time you meet them?
probably the second time I meet them. At least very bare minimum the second time I talk to them.
So the first time you're meeting with them, it's just.
Cause I don't know what they need typically,
Right.
right? So the old lady that I told you about that was super fierce and had fun fingernails. I actually had met her at it was a salsa festival. Believe it or not. So the little town I lived in, outside of Orlando, we had festivals year round because right, the weather was nice enough, you could do that. So one of my lead generation funnels that I focused on was buying booths at festivals. And that way, rather than standing in an empty house and hoping people show up, I'm gonna stand in an empty booth and know thousands of people are gonna walk by. Fact of the matter is, you're never gonna buy that house anyway. Only 2% of those leads are gonna convert. So if I'm not actually working on selling that house, why am I standing in it? When I am the service package, they should just come and talk to me. Right?
How successful is that?
Pretty successful.
I've seen that.
Yeah. Got to the point I started doing conventions.
You do a wedding one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a wedding. I used to do wedding conventions. I love wedding conventions. I used to do one called MommyCon. That came to the Orlando Convention Center. It would have 4,000 plus people that would come through it on a day. So if I was willing to be there for all 3 days, I could bring in 10,000 leads if I wanted to. If I was doing my job properly. A lot of these are cost big money to have your booth there, but they'll give you the entire list of every participant that has bought a ticket to the convention.
Oh,
Yeah. But it's my job to convert them, right? Because I'm not gonna just, if I don't know them, I'm not just gonna take them and put them in my database. They're not my customer yet. Right? I gotta convert them to being a customer, build rapport with them, and then convert them into business. Right?
how would you do a mass, something such as that, when you have anywhere from 500 to 4,000? Plus, some of these large conventions are 20,000 plus. How
Yes.
do you handle,
Systems. It was all systems. So everybody got set up on a touch campaign. Okay. And the touch campaign had promises in it, and I had to live up to them. Which meant the first one would be like, hey, we met at MommyCon 2022 at the Orlando Convention Center. You might not remember me, my name is Beth Gravilla, and I work with Keller Williams Classic Realty in Orlando. You mentioned to me that you were interested in maybe buying, selling, or investing in real estate here in Central Florida in the next 12 to 24 months. I'm going to reach out to you within the next week to find a time that works for both of us. Once again, it was wonderful meeting. Love those people. Okay, but they don't remember who they talked to because there were 300 booths. Okay,
correct,
so now I have the next week to call all of these people.
all 20,000?
I'm trying to, well, it's not just me, right? So I had people on my team. It's not just me making phone calls.
That might take less to do that,
Yeah,
for those of us that might want to do that, I've considered that past. It's a great way to get your face to actually look at, talk to people, but some of them can be pricey.
Yeah.
There's everything.
yeah, I mean, I've spent several $1,000s before to be part of a convention.
They did a convention, where they had different time slots and different ages to take 4-hour slot.
Yeah,
They split up.
so me and my friend Dale used to do that. Now, Dale and I ran similar businesses, but for different age groups. Okay, Gail typically works with 55 up community. I typically worked with millennials. So, Gail and I made an agreement that if we worked together, we would split the leads. And she would take her demographic and I would take mine that we typically work with, right? Now, sometimes I just couldn't because Henry had a thing or whatever, so she would work it, and while she was working it, she got all the leads, and then I would bump her out, and then I would work the booth, and then I would get all the leads. You know? Make sense? So. These are all ways to lead generate, but none of it means anything if you can't convert it into business. Okay? Now, we talked about ways that you can do this and knowing what to say, right? But you have to also remember you can't neglect your database. You have to reconnect with each person, connect with your whole database. This is why it's important maybe to not just fill your database with people you haven't met, right? We need to know who those people are, right? So we can connect with the whole database. And if people are not willing to connect with us, right? We have to put them, have a system within our business where we decide whether or not we keep what we do with that lead, right? I simply had touch campaigns that I would throw them on, right? If they're not answering my phone calls, not answering my text messages. But the first time they actually told me to pound sand, I listened, and I would remove them from my database. Because my thought process was, I don't want to work with people who don't want to work with me. And if I have to beg you to be my friend, that ain't it. That doesn't work for me. Okay? But for other people, they'll just keep doing that and they'll beg, and sometimes they get business out of it. So it's up to you, right? You have to know who to prioritize the qualified leads though, right? You have to create a system around that, whether that's tagging those leads, whatever that may be, and then you have to communicate with them based on how they're prioritized, right? So are they a 0 to 3 month lead? Okay, great. They're 0 to 3 months, and now I'm talking to them on the phone, and their timeline has changed, and now they've been pushed out to 6 months. I have to change not just the tag, but change what smart plan they're on, so they're getting the right kind of communication for where they're at in their business. Does that make sense?
And we'll address that in this class, like how to.
Yeah, Ignite classes, we're gonna talk about all that stuff, yeah. Yeah.
They're like when you're setting up like the smart plans for certain people, do you have to customize every single one, or are there just some that you can just?
You can plug and play, friends, you can plug and play on a lot of them.
We all get to try and figure it out. Those of us that don't know.
So once again, we're gonna be capturing the appropriate information to get a hold of the lead, connecting to assess their needs and establish relationship. We're gonna be cultivating the relationship, and then we're gonna close by asking for the appointment. That is the lead conversion model. You can find that in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Okay, so this is not the only place you can find this. This exists multiple places. If you liked my class today, my name was Beth.
You're done.
If you didn't like my class today, my name was Bo.
You've all been great.
So once again, an event type, you're gonna say that you were here in person. My name is not going to exist in there. So go ahead and say, you're going to say instructor not in drop down. You're gonna put my information in there. So just write Beth Gravilla. And you're gonna write that this is Ignite session number 11, follow up with leads. Okay. All right. Who's got odds for me? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's here. Listen.
Yeah, it's gonna not be there. You're gonna have to put an instructor not in drop down. It'll be at the very bottom. And then
That's the region.
oh, you're gonna put Ohio Valley. Or the Ohio Valley region. This helps me so that when one of my goals, so you guys know, one of my goals is to become a Keller Williams University certified instructor. And those reviews help me get the chance to do that. Okay.
Here.
Yeah,
Go down to the bottom. Structure.
because I'm not certified yet, but once I'm certified, I'll be in the drop down.
I didn't hear her.
I want to be certified. Real bad.
GRAVIL.
Gravilla. Say how great I am, if you love me, I'm your favorite.
And
I mean, unless that's all a lie, but. Okay. Does anybody have any ahas over the things we covered today? Follow up with leads?
and we have to put forth the effort, and we have to ask for the business, and it is to some degree very simplistic in the task that we need to do. But we have to have the confidence to do so, and we have to make the effort to implement and do.
Yeah.
Then we need to track, make sure systems are in place, and treat it as a job. And ask for their business.
Oh my God, it's like she listened the whole time, it's great.
I've been paying attention.
I love that, I love it.
It's a simple concept that I've spent 15 years avoiding doing.
It's simple, because it's simple, it's not easy, right? It's simple, but it takes work, and it takes. Sometimes we don't know how to put the system in place part of it, so we immediately stop.
That it creates a paralysis.
Yeah.
I feel overwhelmed because there are so many things that you can do. At the end of the day, if we put it into perspective and sum it up into a simple plan to implement an X amount of things and grow, start with our foundation and grow. This is what I'm seeing with Keller Williams. To implement plans, find the big one. Yes.
Yeah.
The goals, the plan, the models, the systems, and then the implementation.
That's right.
And that's where I like this fail, because it's so overwhelming. There's so many things that we can do. It's like a paralysis sets in, and next thing you know, you're cleaning out the junk drawer and you're talking to a client for 2 hours about their knee surgery or whatever.
I love when I talk to agents too, and they talk about, all of the classes they've taken and all of the things they've done and this kind of stuff. And I think it's always great when people do that. And then I look at their business and it doesn't reflect that. So once again, I believe numbers tell stories, and that number tells me that you've got a really smart shelf somewhere in your house where all those manuals exist from all those classes. Because without implementation, what are we doing? So when we're time blocking, we have to time block for time to work in our business and on our business, right? So working in your business is lead generating, lead conversion, this kind of stuff. Working on your business is things like reconciling your P&L, things like creating a system around follow-up, making sure your tags are appropriate within your system, so you can communicate in a way that makes sense for each person, right? So it's a good challenge for you guys to take out of here today is look at your time blocking and ask yourself, am I working in my business and on my business, or am I mostly working on my business and not in, or vice versa? Right? Where's the balance there? There has to be balance in doing that. The great thing is with Command, a lot of these systems already exist. You really just have to plug and play them. And we have to trust they're going to work. We have to trust that KW has done it for you and that you don't know better, right? I still do it. I open a smart plan and I go, well, I'm just gonna make my own because I'm gonna do this. Literally, Beth, shut up. Just do the thing. It's right there. It's made for you. Just do it. Do it. Do the thing. Do the thing. Right? But I think I know better. I think I know better than Gary Keller. Isn't that amazing? I'm so smart. I think I know better than him. I think I know better than the content writers that have years and years of education. I think I know better than them. I know. Okay, any other ahas, guys?
You're an amazing instructor. That's not an aha. You deliver it so well, and you really hit home. You don't mince your words, you tell it to us straight, you put it into perspective where we get it.
It's because Tammy, I refuse to love you out of business.
See, and there she goes again. Perfect.
I don't believe love is allowing people to fail. I believe love is helping people succeed,
That's awesome.
right? So I am not going to love you out of business and let you keep failing, but you feel real warm and fuzzy the whole time. Growth comes from things that are uncomfortable. Gross times in your business is where you're gonna grow the most. Right? My grandmother, and I don't know if you guys are faithful people or not, but my grandmother was. And she used to say to me that sometimes the only time that you look up is when you are flat on your back. Right? And that's the truth. It's the same in your business. The only time that people look to the proven systems and models and actually implement them is when they are flat on their back in their business. Same idea. Okay. But think about how great it would be if we didn't wait. Think about how great it could be if we didn't wait until we failed. And we just did the thing from the beginning. Right? Now you do have homework, right? So you have homework of your success system going forward. You know what that is, right? You know that that is your role play. You know that that's time, making your call lists and sorting your call lists. And you know that that is the actual real play of making the phone calls or having the conversations you need to be having for your business to grow. And yep, they need to be conversations, guys. Sorry. I know it sucks. Make the phone calls.
So this wasn't planned, but Tara is leading that MRBA podcast class today.
Yeah.
And it ties in like exactly with this, and it's that book you told me to read, exactly what to say. And he's the one, and I remember listening to it as my first podcast, and you're like, oh, and then I listened today, and it's him telling you exactly what to say to people and asking questions and
Asking good questions.
gives you goosebumps just to listen to him speak. And then Julie had told me, serendipity, you need to read this book.
The powers that be have reigned upon your business today. Right? Alright, so make sure that you're using these success systems now. This is success system may be getting really boring for you right now because you're far enough into this, you're 11 sessions into this, you might be getting really bored with it at this point. Overwhelmed with it. But guys, these are the activities of success. That's why it's called a success system. Okay, these are the daily habits that should be showing up on your calendar. And how our time should be spent.
Where is the success system and to reference back? God, I'll show you.
There's one
At the end of the class.
supposed to be doing.
Sorry,
No, you're all good.
I gotta carefully, no, okay,
So-
that's the daily success system,
Yes.
I got it.
And this time,
Right.
is
10 likes, 5 comments, and 1 share.
4 share.
4 share.
4 share.
Got you, which I have actually been close to that.
Me too.
I'm
very
very
close.
close. I focus on people's birthdays.
How much of this are we getting though?
10 conversations.
The 10 conversations.
Well, no, that's hard. So
Of course it's hard. I don't think it's gonna be easy.
Going to coffee, going to the hardware store, adding those.
I'm gonna ask, yeah, here's a great question. On your way here today, how many people did you talk to, Tammy?
Very.
Did you talk to them?
Oh.
But between your house and getting here, how many people did you speak to?
I spoke to 3, one of them is already a client, and the other one is another realtor often expects, the other one's, 4 or 5. And the other one's a realtor I want to kill.
I mean,
not literally,
I
but
don't think we should kill them.
Forgive me for utilizing.
For the live stream, I don't think we should do that.
She says that here, so
Excuse
she's
me,
gonna.
I have feelings that are anger
Feelings of anger, how about that? I get it.
and confidence.
But we are not gonna work from an emotional place. Business is business, right? It's not personal.
Yeah.
regardless of what they say to you. Cause they make it fruitful. They're like, yeah. But remember, when you are making your phone calls, that you are following the TCPA, you are absolutely always checking your do not call registry. You do not have, no. What?
Here's all I can call.
Okay,
Can we feed the numbers into something that we categorize, use it, is it that simple or?
you've gotta look them up. You've gotta look them up.
We can keep that tab up and we'll insert it in.
Yeah. You get the very day.
That's why we're gonna get people hanging up on the do not call us, quick.
Yeah, and a lot of times they're lying to us, by the way.
Well, I mean, I tell you, don't call me when you come on the DNC. You want me to report you, cause I get tired of that, and I mean, there will be a quick. Yeah, it was like, man,
I have been out of town for rivers that I know, state agents and actually questions would be good. They find their ways. They don't know that.
Tammy, this is for you. I engage every conversation from the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in relationship with me.
Unless you can see me sometimes.
Unless,
I can take it,
unless.
Yeah, most are, I think all of us in here, plus I mean.
But,
There are people that do just want to go.
well, and I want to encourage you as well, you know, if you're getting phone calls from people you don't want to necessarily talk to. Right?
Yeah.
Remember that there's somebody standing behind them that is very similar to me, telling them to make those phone calls. They're not the bad guy, I am, you can be mad at me, okay?
And I do that, I will say that when I get calls from salespeople. And there's always variety, not just Gravilla.
Yeah.
But they do, and I understand they have a job, they're trying to do a job, make movies for their families, and I will say that, when they call me multiple times. They go to my phone and text after I ask them not to. That's been awesome.
My husband thinks it's really embarrassing, but I love door knockers. Like the people that are door to door salesmen, because I try to recruit them to real estate.
I'll just keep.
Well, it's happens too, when they try, they're like, when they.
I want them to give me the whole spiel.
I'm like,
That's
well,
like,
actually, so.
that's really great. What if I told you you could say half of that and build a bigger business? And they'd go, what? And I go, and you can build a business for yourself and not be making money for other people. How about that? And they'd go, what? And I'd go, here's my card.
That's good.
My name is Beth. I'm a real estate agent. We offer scholarships at Keller Williams University for pre-licensing training. Have you ever thought about selling real estate?
Brand new time.
Give it that script, man.
And they go, what? Really? Yeah, I've thought about that. And I'm like, cool. I need your information now because I'm gonna follow up with you to make sure that we stay in connection. What's your number? Now they know my names. I use them for lead generation. Please knock on my front door.
And I will say I try to build people up, because when I do it myself, who's working, who's really down on it, I do it.
Yeah.
And especially when they're younger or.
I had some teenage boys that actually came by like wanting to like shovel driveways and stuff. And my husband was trying to scare them away. And I was like, yeah, bring them out. Get back here. I was like, have you ever heard of something called Keller Williams Next Gen? And they were like, no. I was like, let me tell you all of that. I was like, it helps people like you who are young entrepreneurs learn how to build businesses and goal set for the future. Is that something you're interested in?
My daughters. Like every time I scan it, it's like asking for money, not how do I sign the kid up?
Yeah, so let's talk about it afterwards. I can get you clear. But yes, KW Next Gen, you've got teenagers. Think of it like when we were kids, it was called junior achievement, right? It's kind of the same concept. Except KW Next Gen is on a whole new level. And once a year, Gary Keller actually teaches a class called Quantum Leap to those next gen students. So these are teenagers who get to sit in a classroom with Gary Keller.
Wow.
And he spends a whole weekend, not just a day, weekends with that. Wow. Teaching them how to literally change their lives. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome stuff. Okay, I'm off my soapbox about that. I hope you guys learned a few things about following up with leads today. Hang out, we've got team meeting coming up. And if you need me, you know where to find me.
That was tremendous, Beth, thank you.
Anything else? Bye, everyone, Disneyland.
Hey, Beth, one question for you. I have only missed 2 sessions